It looked like a heart attack. A man found dead in his hotel room, no signs of struggle, nothing stolen. But what investigators would later uncover in room 348 wasn't just unusual, it was almost impossible. This wasn't natural causes. It wasn't even a fight. It was a crime so strange, it seemed pulled from the pages of a mystery novel. Welcome to Famous Crime Cases. Stay tuned as we go deep into the story. On the night of September 15, 2010, Greg Fleniken, a 55-year-old oilfield worker from Lafayette, Louisiana, checked into the Elegante Hotel in Beaumont, Texas. Greg was a creature of habit, steady, dependable, and deeply loved by his wife, Susie. That night, after dinner, he stopped at the vending machine, grabbed a Snickers bar, and went back to room 348. For Greg, it was just another night on the road. He made some calls, turned on the TV, and settled in. But the next morning, Greg didn't show up for work. Concerned, his coworkers asked hotel staff to check on him. When the doors swung open, they found him lying on the floor. No struggle, no blood, his wallet, keys, and belongings untouched. To everyone, it looked like a sudden heart attack. After all, Greg smoked, lived a fairly sedentary lifestyle, and was in his mid-50s. Beaumont police didn't see a crime scene. They saw a tragedy. But the autopsy told a darker story. Greg's ribs were shattered. His scrotum had been torn. His insides showed catastrophic internal bleeding. These were the injuries of a man who had suffered a brutal assault. Yet there were no bruises on his fists, no defensive wounds, no broken furniture. It was as though Greg had been beaten from the inside out. Detectives were baffled. How could a man be so violently injured in a locked hotel room with no attacker in sight? Weeks passed, and the investigation stalled. Susie, refusing to accept silence, hired a private investigator, Ken Brennan, a tough, relentless former DEA agent with a sharp instinct for the unusual. Brennan examined the case, the room, the photos. Something didn't fit. These injuries weren't consistent with fists or kicks. They were too concentrated, too precise. He started to suspect that Greg hadn't been beaten at all. Then, while inspecting the hotel walls, Brennan noticed something almost invisible, a tiny, perfect hole in the sheetrock of room 348. On the other side of that wall? Room 349. Tests confirmed it. Greg had been killed by a single bullet, one that tore through the hotel wall, striking him in the chest, and wreaking havoc on his body before he even knew what had happened. Now, the focus shifted. Who was in room 349 that night? Investigators discovered 3 men, electrical contractors, in town for work. At first, they denied everything. But under questioning, the truth cracked open. One of the men, Lance Mueller, had been showing off a pistol in the room. Careless. Reckless. He pulled the trigger, never realizing a bullet had just ripped through the wall into the room next door, into Greg Fleniken's body. The men panicked. Instead of calling for help, they hid the gun, lied to police, and left Greg to die alone. For Susie, the truth was both devastating and relieving. Greg hadn't been living a double life. He hadn't fallen into a secret fight. He had simply been the victim of a careless act, a man in the wrong place at the wrong time, robbed of his future by someone else's arrogance and cowardice. Eventually, Mueller was convicted of manslaughter. Justice delayed but delivered. But the case of the body in room 348 still stands as one of the strangest in modern true crime. A death that looked natural, an autopsy that suggested murder, and a hidden bullet hole that unraveled it all, proving that sometimes the most ordinary scenes hide the most extraordinary secrets. Let us know your thought in the comment below. If you found this video important, remember to like, share, and subscribe.